Sal, maybe I can ask you about the grant writer program. Well, we're not on, oh, we are on live now, but just, I didn't know if I should do this at this meeting or not, but I feel that the wage of $20 an hour we should look at increasing that. And
I've got it in my calendar
okay,
as an action item, and it'll be upcoming.
so we're gonna, will I be included in the conversation?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Just the only option I see is, of course, just topping up from Select, which I'm completely prepared to do. Anyway, sure. Okay. If we've already got that scheduled, then I'll leave it for this meeting as a discussion point. Would you like me to call to order so that we could move through the?
Not quite yet. I'm
Okay.
just getting us up and running. Thank you.
I'll turn
Thank
this
you.
off, so myself off.
We probably shouldn't be discussing wages in an open meeting either. Just,
Yeah, that's right.
So who watched the leaders debate last night? I thought, what a difference between.
Okay, we are now live. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. We're now
No,
live.
that's okay. That's okay. And do we know Russell's status?
Not yet. He's still talking to Graham.
I had to switch computers. I was trying to get in on my desktop, and I just got into a loop where it said join, and then it went round and said download the app, and I thought, well, it's already downloaded, but we'll click that again. And then it came back to join again, and then it went back to download the app, and I just got into that little circle. And then when I came over to this, the one I'm using now, it didn't want to join that either. Took a while. Hey Sal, is that the mine up in Bylaw? And that I don't know what they're called. They used to be called Avino. I don't know if they still are. Are they actually working up there? Are they doing anything?
Yeah, they're test drilling. They've changed the scope of what they're doing, and they're actually doing some major drilling programs to find enough to actually start up the mine.
Production,
So when they first started about a year ago now, they under a year, they predicted about 3 to 5 years of drilling programs to verify what they've got. And they're also going down deep, and what they're actually doing is looking at the old core samples from way down deep, because it's over a mile down, and doing more tests on those core samples to see what's still down there.
Yeah, because they came and presented to us in the last term. Must have been the last term, because Debbie was the director. Yeah, it was. So it's a couple of years ago now.
That was Avino.
Is it not Avino anymore then?
No, it's Talisker. Talisker bought them out in beginning of the year.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's a whole new, it's a whole new company that runs it now, and they really, and that's what they're doing. The old Avino group, they totally tore out the mill and gutted it basically because they wanted to put all new equipment a little bit bigger. It was a 100-ton a day mill, and they wanted to go up to 500 ton a day. But the issue was that their drilling program isn't what this group is doing now.
I thought maybe it had just dried up and they decided to not proceed, or so there's still a possibility that that will become an active mine then.
Yes, that's the plan.
So
Okay.
Graham, sorry, Graham has advised me that Russell is going to call in.
He's calling me. Hi, it's Melanie. Okay. Yes, I will do that. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Bye. Okay, he's going to call in to the number in the invite, and he's asked if Director Birch Jones could chair, please.
And I believe we would wait for Russell to call in before we call to order.
That would be nice. I think it should be quick at this point.
Well, we won't be disturbed by my dog today because he's not back from his holiday yet. He comes back tomorrow. And I understand.
His holiday.
Oh, he's been on a romantic holiday in Oregon.
Okay, I think Director Mack is in the process of connecting with us.
Can you hear me, Kristen?
There we go.
Yes.
Morning, Russell.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I'm still trying to get in, but I'm here now.
Excellent.
Welcome. I'd like to call this meeting to order and recognize that collectively we're on the unceded territories of all the First Nations within our regional boundaries. And the next item is to approve the agenda.
I'll move that.
I'll move that.
Okay. I saw Sal's hand up first, followed by Director Rainbow. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. The special staff report.
I'll move that.
Okay. Moved by Director Rainbow. Seconded by Director Demare. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. So now we welcome our delegation, Devin Pollock, the WildSafe BC SLRD coordinator, and I see you're there. Hi, Devin.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Devin.
Good
This
morning.
is just for an introduction and general discussion regarding WildSafe BC program in the SL this season. So I'll turn it over to you, Devin.
Okay, great. Before I get started, is there any chance that I can share my PowerPoint screen? I've prepared just a short presentation.
We'd need to turn that over by Graham or Kristen.
So, hi, Devin. So can you just access the share screen?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay.
Ah,
Can you see the screen?
yep.
Great. Okay. So I've just prepared a bit of an overview of my efforts this season. And I'll start with some graphs with the wildlife reports to the COS. These are reports to the COS and WARP, which is our WildSafe BC wildlife alert reporting system. So any report that goes through the COS gets wiped of all personal data and is sent over to WildSafe BC, so we can publicly display it on our program. And we see right here, this is the reports for black bears in the SLRD over the past 5 years. The trend is pretty similar to previous years this spring. However, it's been a high conflict season, and that's been verified by COS Sergeant Simon Gravel as well, with July and August seeing some spikes in black bear conflicts. September was a bit lower, and the data is still not released for October yet. Here is our kind of the same thing, but just by the year. So we're so far right on track to the 5-year mean. However, there's still 2 months left of reports to be generated. So I expect that to increase by a few hundred reports. So it'll be on track to be a high conflict season. Looking at species excluding black bears, we see a decrease in cougar and coyote reports and an increase, a 5-year high so far in deer and grizzly bear reports. A monthly average usually for grizzly bear reports is between 3 to 5 from the data that I have. In September, we got 20 grizzly bear reports coming into the COS in Squamish. And their early season in the spring, we had 8 grizzly bear reports coming from a neighborhood in Whistler, as well as a couple sightings in Pemberton. By area, we see Area C having the highest number of reports, followed by Area B. There's very few reports coming out of Area A and Area D. I'd like to mention in this graph, Area B includes the DOL, and Area C has Pemberton within it. If we add Whistler and Squamish, the number of calls dramatically increases in Area C and D. So I'd like to see those numbers increase in Area A, B, and D. Yeah. Looking at attractants, garbage still reigns as the #1 attractant bringing wildlife into our communities, although we've done a good job this year so far at reducing the number of calls with garbage identified as the main attractant. It's followed by fruit trees this year. Other is quite a large group. It could include carcasses, camping gear, cookware. What else was on there? You can check out the warp. I can get back to you on the other things. It's quite an extensive list. Compost this year, not so big. And barbecues was a big one this year. So really focusing on securing residential and commercial garbage and working with residents to remove and harvest any fruits on trees, and pushing for the use and installation of electric fencing would be effective strategies to reduce conflict in the SLRD.
Devin, excuse me, the
Sure.
one on barbecues, what is that, people leaving food on a barbecue or not cleaning it, or what is it?
So the COS doesn't get in their reports into that much detail about what barbecue means, but usually it could be grease left over in the traps or not cleaning their barbecue after use. So we always tell people to put their heat all the way on high for several minutes after they're finished cooking and to empty their grease traps.
Clean it up.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so a little bit of what I've done this year. So far, I've managed to grow the WildSafe SLRD Facebook page up 8% up to 832 likes this year, up from 770. I had 2 articles in the Peak News Magazine and Squamish Chief, which were well received and generated phone calls and leads for education opportunities within the SLRD. If I switch, do you still see the presentation right now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, great. Concerning presentations, I did fewer than I hoped to this year. COVID was a challenge with in-person presentations. So far I've given a total of 2 presentations through webinar and outdoor presentations. On August 26th, I presented to the Pemberton Off-Road Cycling Association to 18 of their members. They received a bear spray workshop. So they got a general overview of bear spray, including safe storage, things to consider when purchasing, and safe transportation. Afterwards, the training focused on wildlife encounters and correct techniques in the deployment of bear spray. And a wildlife safety and awareness presentation was presented through a webinar on October 8th, this past week. I really promoted this heavily in SLAD areas D to increase the amount of wildlife awareness there. Promotion was done through door-to-door, at farmers markets, through social media, and at display booths. So I invited an estimated 250 people. However, only 5 members of the public actually attended my 90-minute presentation. I've also secured a presentation to elementary school-age kids next week. So I'll be presenting our Wild Safe Ranger program to over 80 students aged kindergarten to grade 8 at École La Vallée, the French school in Pemberton here. And hopefully during the rest of my program, I'll be able to do more wildlife presentations. So display booths this year, 7 display booths were held throughout the 2020 season. Farmers markets and public spaces, such as parking lots and green spaces and parks, were the primary locations where booths were set up. And display booths were visited by 234 people over the year. I mostly set up in areas that I received invites or answers to my requests. So Pemberton Farmers Market and Lillauet Farmers Market answered my requests. I reached out to the Squamish Farmers Market, but was denied this year. Furry Creek and Britannia Beach, I was able to set up in 2 public space areas. And I responded to a COS call surrounding off-leash dogs at 1 Mile Lake in Pemberton, as there was a bear attack on a resident because of an off-leash dog. And it was great connecting with the residents. These booths really help new residents to the area get an understanding of what wildlife they can encounter and the proper steps in reducing attractants at home. I also was able to forward people to, or put people in contact with fruit exchange programs, which really help residents with fruit trees. Garbage tagging. So door-to-door education was modified this year. Do I have door-to-door on here? I'll start with garbage tagging. So garbage bin tagging consists of placing a highly visible sticker and removable warning sticker on top of containers that are set out curbside the day before collection. During 5 of my outings, a total of 95 bins were tagged in the SLRD, 77 of which were in Britannia Beach. Of these 77, 11 were identified as repeat offenders. However, I think data from another round of garbage tagging would likely yield an increase in repeat offenders. Problem with data collection in garbage tagging is that it's done between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. and it's very hard to see the addresses on these residents. So I've been recording the bin numbers instead. However, one of my nights I recorded compost bins and the other night I recorded garbage bins. So if I was to go back this year, I'd go for garbage bins again, get those bin numbers, and I'd imagine those repeat offenders would be much higher, potentially double. I also visited the Pemberton Meadows trailer park, as it's been identified as an area with a history of human-wildlife conflict. And within the trailer park, 11 bins were set out curbside before collection. I placed the stickers on offending bins, and door hangers were circulated, encouraging the residents to place the containers out the day of collection only. And the effectiveness of garbage tagging for changing behaviors was demonstrated by 100% of the trailer park residents whose bins were tagged during the initial survey, not putting their curb out early again during my second survey in the Meadows trailer park. In Furry Creek, the number of tagged bins dropped from 3 to 2 between initial and follow-up surveys, and there were no repeat offenders. I also managed to create a garbage collection map for the Pemberton Meadows. This data was unavailable to me at the beginning of my season, and rather than chase GFL around to try to find a map of where they go, I decided to drive around and follow them and look for whose bins were out, and it would make my night of garbage tagging a lot more efficient. I also visited Lillauet briefly. They have 5 or 4 different collection evenings. I only attended one, and it was near Main Street and the surrounding areas. And I only noticed that one big bin was placed out early, which was very surprising to me. That's great news. When speaking with Bylaw Officer Davidson, she was happy with the result and said that as these residents are primarily in the public eye, right? These houses are right off Main Street and would be the first residents to receive a complaint or an offense. They are likely really good about not putting their bins out early. And she said perhaps the other neighborhoods in Lillauet might not be so compliant. So another round of garbage tagging there would be interesting to see what results come up. So I also did some door-to-door education, which was modified this year to consist of only leaving door hangers and not physically knocking on doors, as has been done in the past in lieu of COVID. The Furry Creek and Britannia Beach neighborhoods were targeted for this activity to increase wildlife awareness and coexistence strategies within the community. And recently, Upper Squamish Valley was also canvassed in response to a small number of grizzly bear sightings in the neighborhood. And I reached a total of 313 people during these door-to-door campaigns. So some challenges that I faced this year was that it was a new program to the SLRD. So this is the first time meeting all of you and establishing relationships with the residents, the communities I'm working with, and other organizations, and finding opportunities for collaboration. I'm also a new WildSafe BC community coordinator, so it took a while for me to learn all the different resources that go along with the WildSafe BC program and feel comfortable and competent and confident in delivering them effectively. COVID-19 obviously posed some challenges in my door-to-door, in talking with people, there being a lack of public events and holiday events such as Canada Day that bring together large groups of people to increase outreach. And other NGOs and bear working groups and organizations produce fewer opportunities for collaboration and events. As was seen in Britannia Beach, garbage is still a challenge. Despite going door to door, campaigning through the neighborhood, and holding info booths in the neighborhood, we still see almost 30% of residents putting their garbage totes out early. I'd like to go back down and do one more night of garbage tagging there, and get the data and send that off to the SLRD, and maybe Bylaw can follow up. Fruit trees still remain a big issue and a big attractant here within the SLRD. And there's a large coverage area. So identifying the needs of each community is something that I'd like to work towards fulfilling next year. It was great to focus on Area D this year. It was easy for me to learn the program in this area. The residents weren't too spaced out from each other. But I'd like to expand the reach of our program to areas B and A within the SLRD. I spent some brief time around Lillauet, and I spent no time in area A, although I was working and supporting Ken Walker, who's the Upper Bridge Valley Community Association Bear Working Coordinator there. I'd also like to grow our relationships with the First Nation communities of the SLRD. Mount Currie has been identified as a repeat hotspot for wildlife conflict by the COS. I was asked to do some door-to-door education in Mount Currie this season, and I received a bit of pushback from the band. They would like to see their own sort of program being delivered in their community rather than something with the BC CDF logo on it and anything that says British Columbia on it, which I understand. And I just would like to support any wildlife prevention, conflict prevention initiatives that Mount Currie residents and bands might have going forward. During that visit, I also stopped by the tribal police and offered them some brochures and handouts to support them on any wildlife calls they might have, and they were very appreciative and gladly took those resources. I noticed a general lack of bear-resistant bins within the northern areas and communities of the SLRD, because garbage is the main source of wildlife conflict in our SLRD areas. Really increasing the amount of commercial and residential bear-resistant bins would be key to reducing conflict. Yeah, I don't have firsthand experience with this, but I was told within the Upper Bridge Valley, there's only one bear-resistant bin at the gas station, the Cardlock gas station. And there's been an increase in recreational spillover from Whistler and Pemberton areas. So really, yeah, I'd love to see either a bulk purchasing program be put in place, or just increasing the amount of commercial and residential bear-resistant bins slowly throughout the SLRD. There's also a lack within the Mount Currie to Seton Portage corridor. I was not trained on electric fencing this season. Vanessa Isnardi, our provincial coordinator, said that this is something that I could be trained in next summer if I was to return, which I'm highly interested in returning and doing and being a part of. I think electric fencing is key to reducing conflict as well. Fruit trees are abundant throughout the SLRD and as well as livestock and small hobby farms. It's been demonstrated that livestock is extremely effective in reducing the amount of conflict and reducing the amount of bears coming into your chicken coops and gaining access to fruit trees. And it's a low-cost solution. We also have our business pledge that I'd like to push more next year. I only visited 3 businesses this year in Lillauet for the business pledge program, which encourages businesses to set good examples in their community on how to safely coexist with wildlife. They're required to follow best practices in solid waste management, provide adequate training to staff, and support WildSafe BC safety and conflict reduction information. Excuse me. In return, we provide support to the business in the form of staff training, WildSafe BC materials, and a business pledge poster. We've also rolled out our WildSafe BC bear camping program. It's a new initiative that was launched at the end of 2020. And through this program, WildSafe BC is able to provide clear guidelines and resources to assist campground operators in maintaining a safe campsite for both people and wildlife. Pacific Rim National Park was the pilot project study area, and they saw a significant decrease in the number of campsites that were classified as being attractive to bears. So they went from, I think, 40% or 50% of their sites being attractive to bears per day to 5 to 10%. And again, this is a free program for campsite operators. It does require a bit of investment in bear-resistant infrastructure for visitors to store their food and any other attractants in, and training for their staff. But other than that, there's no cost to them. Yeah. Continuing education campaigns focused on coexistence strategies and wildlife conflict prevention, and really getting our name out to all the local food banks and fruit exchange programs would be great. I connected mostly with the Pemberton fruit exchange program, but there are some in Lillauet and Squamish, and I'm sure a few others throughout the SLRD. So yeah, connecting residents to those food sharing groups would be a great initiative for next year. Continue my door-to-door campaign, and growing my relationship with the COS. Sergeant Brittany Mueller, based out of Whistler, has been a great contact for me. She shared a lot of information and took the time to explain how things work within the COS, as well as Sergeant Simon Gravel. However, I only supported them. They only reached out to me 2 to 3 times this year. So I'd like to, increase that number, increase the amount of support that I can offer to them. And this can be simply just establishing bi-weekly or monthly meetings with them and following up, seeing what their priorities are and how I can help. And that's all I got for you today in my presentation. Any questions?
Any
I have a
questions?
comment.
Yep, Sal Demare, and then Director Rainbow.
I just got a question on, I'm not quite clear how this program is funded, and so I'd like to clear that up. And also, is Area A paying into it? And the work that, if we do pay into it, how does it relate to our WildSafe coordinator that we have here currently for this year? And it's funded through Coast to Cascades.
So the sponsors of this program are the SLRD, the BC Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy, as well as the British Columbia Conservation Foundation. I've supported the Coast to Cascades coordinator via brochure material, and I've had monthly meetings with him to identify what he's working on. I'd love to see SLRD Area A included in the future. I was told to focus this season on Furry Creek, Britannia Beach, and Pemberton Meadows. And as a result, that's where most of the programming was delivered.
Thank you. I also see Angela here who might be able to add to that. Would you like to do that, Angela?
And I think just as far as reach is concerned, as we all know, the regional district is very broad. And what Devin was able to do was concentrate on those areas that he spoke of, with opportunities to expand that reach as we move forward with that contracted position with WildSafe.
Okay, thank you.
Director Rainbow?
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I've said this directly to Devin. I'll say it again. Welcome to the SLRD team. You have been a welcome addition this year because of the problems we had last year. And I can say that the program was well received. I've had nothing but very supportive comments from people in much feedback, but I think it's a very worthwhile program. However, it was funded. I hope we can do it again next year. I don't know where the SLRD portion of the funding came from, but if that's an issue, if it's a problem, I think we need to talk about that and find a way of congratulations to Devin to the way that he did his work, and hope to see you next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. I'm glad sorry, I should say Director Rainbow. I'm glad the program was well received within the SLRD Area D. You did break up a bit there, so I didn't catch everything you said, but I understood the general overview of it. In your community specifically, I'd like to also increase the amount of trust within the COS. That talking to residents of Britannia Beach and Furry Creek, they're hesitant to call the COS because of what happened because of the destruction of the bear family last season. So going forward, that would be something that I also push.
Good, thank you.
I wanted to add to from Area B that I really appreciated that you hopped right on it and made yourself available at the Lillauet Farmers Market. That was sort of the only opportunity that we had that was kind of suitable for what you were trying to do. And you were able to meet a lot of key people here and do some follow-up. And I think that the liaison work that you've done so far in Lillauet has been excellent. And so I appreciate, this is a very important program. And I thank you for, I think in spite of the challenges that have been pretty big, you're doing a great job. So far, so good. And there is a newspaper in Lillauet. There's a little bit more for you to learn about Area B, but you've just gotten started. And I think you're off to a great start, Devin. Thank you.
Thank you for the support, Director Birch Jones. Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm brand new. Go ahead.
Director DeMare?
Yeah, Devin, your presentation was excellent, and I also compliment you on the work that you've done. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. And just talking about electric fencing, a good friend of mine, Jeff Playfair, owns an apple orchard on Texas Creek, just outside of Lillauet. And this year he actually went and put electric fencing all around his orchard, just because that's the type of person he is. And that could be an example for other areas that have fruit trees or produce that the bears can get into. It's a really good example. I can give you his contact info later. And and the reach out to our Kenny Walker out here in our valley is also appreciated. Great work.
Thank you, Director Dumar. I'd love to use that that contact and as an example to share on our social media platform. And yeah, Kenneth Walker is an awesome guy, very outgoing and knowledgeable as well. And just to return to you, Director Birch Jones, I do acknowledge that I have much to learn about Area D and the WildSafe program in general, and what our wildlife conflicts are here. And I hope that I have that opportunity in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Just checking in with Director Mack.
I'm here. I'm listening.
Okie doke.
Sounds very good.
All right. Thank you. I think we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Is that all right with everyone? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Devin.
So I'll leave now.
you.
Thank you so much for your time, directors, and the SLRD team.
Pleasure. Welcome. All right. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. I have a couple of questions on a couple of items, but so I think I just have to ask then to remove item 5.2.1, select funds report, and also item 5.3.2, the open letter to Minister Heyman, and place them, I'm stalling so Kristen can tell me. Decision on late business, number 10.
So thank you, Director Birch Jones. We can add the select funds report as item 7.8. And we can add, we'll add the other one there as 7.9. We don't have a correspondence for information header right now. So we'll put that one as 7.9, the open letter.
Thank you. So with
Thank you.
those amendments, may I have a motion to move the consent agenda, please? Moved by Director Demare. Seconded by Director.
I second that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I like it when you pipe up, Director Mack. I get nervous when you're not saying anything. Okay.
No, not to worry. I'm here.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And now we go to, okay, so was that the approval of the consent agenda then? Moving on to, do we have any business arising from the minutes? Hearing none. Staff reports and other business. 7.1 CAO verbal update. Over to you, CAO Helmer.
Thank you, Chair. I did just have one question since I'm new here. I noticed that you pulled out the select funds and another item. Is there some direction that you could provide to staff on what your thought is so that in future when we're building agendas, if there's things that you're going to pull, we'll put them elsewhere on the agenda for your consideration?
Sure. Yes. Yep.
Okay. So just for clarification, so the select funds, would that be something you would prefer to have under the staff reports as an information report? So it's not in there?
Speaking as Area B, I would prefer that, but I don't know how the other directors feel about that. Director,
That's fine with me.
Director Rainbow?
You're muted.
You're on mute.
Did you hear my reply, Vivian?
Yeah. Okay, I'll try again.
Yes, Russell.
I see my internet connection is unstable according to a little sign that keeps coming up. So I hope you can hear me. But I'm happy with it where it is. Be honest with you, I don't pay much attention to Area A, Area B, and Area C. I look at the Area D one, and if there's something there that I'm not sure about, I phone Suzanne. And so the idea of having a consent agenda is to move the meeting along. And I'm not sure why we need to pull things out of there when they could be dealt with just by one phone call ahead of the meeting. So I prefer to leave it where it is.
Do we have any other comments? Sal de Mayor?
I'm okay with leaving it where it is also.
Yeah, Tony made a good explanation, so I'll have to agree with him.
Okay, then we'll leave it where it is. And on the correspondence, I'm also perfectly happy to speak to staff directly about that and put it back in. I mean, we can leave those in the consent agenda if I can just follow up with staff on particular questions that I have. It's been moved today, so I think
Yeah, it's been done today
it
already.
is. Director de Mayor?
Yeah, I think the question that you're going to talk to on the select report is an important one. So we need to talk about it down farther down the agenda.
Okay, thank you. So then back to our CAO.
Thank you, Chair. That's the only question that I had for today. Thank you.
And for a verbal update,
No, I have no verbal update at this point either. Thank you.
then we'll move to 7.2, request for decision, commemorative bench, electoral area D, Furry Creek Spit, and that would be Director Rainbow.
I'll say from the outset that I don't support this. I have a motion that I've just texted to you, Kristen, or emailed to you. There are 4 options at the end of this report, and number 4 was other. So that's the one I'm focusing on. And my motion is that a decision be deferred until a comprehensive plan has been developed for the Crown land at the end of the spit. Now, if I can just give you a little background here, this is the first I knew of this proposal was when it appeared on the agenda. And I'd like to comment right now that I think that's wrong. I think that there's something significant that's going to be happening in one of the rural areas. The director shouldn't first learn about it on an agenda. So I think somebody should have called me about that and talked to me about it. Second thing is, when I read through it, I saw the name Karen Anima, and I thought, who is that? I don't know who that is. Now, I've only been here 6 years, so I thought, well, I'll check it out. The first 3 people I phoned in the upper Furry Creek, I never heard of her. And I finally found somebody in Oliver's Landing that recalled that she rented here up until 2010, and that her husband was the CAO in Squamish, the district of Squamish. So at least I found out where who she was, and the family is either on the island or some of them are over in St. John's, Newfoundland. So it's not, they're not a local family. And the comment, when I started thinking about what we're going to do on that spit, so if we put a bench up there, if I just went ahead with this and didn't, didn't challenge it at all, if we put a bench there, I know I'm going to get questions. Whose decision was that? Why have you put a bench there? Well, it wasn't me putting the bench there, but why has that happened? Why have you allowed that? Those kinds of questions. And then, the resident that I did speak to here, who is the chair of the Oliver's Landing Strata Council, said, well, nobody knows that person, but the minute that bench goes up, what about Greg? He died 2 years ago. What about Torben? He died last year. They're people that have been here since 2000 and everybody knows them. And what about if their families want benches? Now, the idea of the bench is not a bad one. Now, to have something done on that spit is a good idea, but it needs to be planned. Now, what about if Greg's family said, "Well, we'll give you $20,000. We want to put a picnic table on the spit in memory of Greg." Do we just do that because they've offered it? I think there are some questions that need to be answered about the use of that spit, which is Crown land. One of the uses of it is that there's a deck at the end of it. And I wanted to replace that deck. I think probably 2 years ago, maybe not two, a year and a half ago, I got some money allocated from amenities funds, Area D amenities funds, to replace the deck. And the answer was we couldn't do that because we don't have tenure of that Crown land. Nobody knows who the deck belongs to. And the idea of completely removing it and replacing it with a larger, better deck is something that the community would be happy with. It's something that we can get support from corporations to pay for it. So my view of this is that we shouldn't do this right now. We should proceed with the process of getting tenure for that little piece of Crown land, and that any development we want to do on there should be done in consultation with the community. It shouldn't be something that the SLRD just decides they're going to do.
Thank you, Dr. Rainbow. Would staff or the CAO like to comment, or should we just move to Director Rainbow's motion?
Thank you, Chair. I was looking at the policy for the first time as we came into this, and so we did want to ensure that it came to the electoral area directors meeting in accordance with the policy, the way it was described. If there are tweaks that need to be made to the policy, we can certainly look at that. And given Director Rainbow's position that it's important that the area director know before it appears on an agenda, we'll make sure that staff do in fact do that regardless of what the policy says. We'll be happy to reach out and make sure the director is aware in advance before it goes anywhere further.
Director Demare?
Yeah, just curious. I looked at that map, and that was in the application here. And where does the Fairy Creek property end? How much of that spit is Crown land?
Roughly, it's not 50-50. I think that the first, about 1/3 of it at the end of the spit is Crown land. And we have a right of way across it. The pathway that goes out to the deck is in SLRD right of way.
Okay, was the bench going to go on the SLRD right away?
I've no idea. I saw a red circle on that map, but where was that? I don't know if it was right next to the path. I don't know if it was out. I don't know.
I support your motion. I think it's critical that.
Hold on. First of all, I see that staff were nodding to answer the question, but
okay.
I don't think we have a clear motion on the table. So
okay.
I just want to back up a little bit and give staff the opportunity and then hear the motion properly.
Thank you, Chair. Do you want to speak to the tenures that we have on that land? Allison?
Sorry, I missed that.
Do you want us to speak to the tenures that we have over that land?
Yeah, can you please speak to those?
Okay. The SRD has on the Crown portion, it's actually the entire width of the spit from approximately halfway, as Director Rainbow said, 1/3 of the way forward to the end of the spit for public access. We also have a right of way that's a narrower strip for the sewer outfall. So there's actually 2 tenures the SLRD holds over that particular piece of land. Further back over the strata property, which is the rest of the spit, we do have just the pathway, but from the Crown land forward, it is the full width of the spit. And the purpose of that tenure is for public access.
Director Rainbow?
So if that's the case, why was I not able to go ahead with reconstruction of that deck?
I don't know. And I don't believe I was in that discussion. It appears, as you know, we spent quite a bit of time this summer going over all those tenures, and maybe that hadn't been discovered at that point, but the actual right of way. I can provide you with the agreement if you like. It shows the full width right out to the end of the spit.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of that. And the answer I got when I wanted to do that deck was that we couldn't do anything because we didn't have tenure. And now it
Don't
appears
know.
we do.
We don't know why that deck is there because we didn't build it, and the deck itself is kind of a mystery piece, but we do have the tenure beneath it.
Well, that's all we need.
Right.
Well, thank you. In that case, you can expect something further from me.
Would you like to make a motion, Director Rainbow?
Oh, I thought I did, but I'll do it again.
You probably did, so just forgive me, because I'm just sort of struggling a bit sharing it. I do believe that you did, so your motion is to defeat this.
No, I'm not defeating. I'm. Kristen, could you read out what I sent you?
Yes, 1 second.
So it's option 4 of the report, which says other.
So that a decision be deferred until a comprehensive plan has been developed for the Crown land at the end of the Furry Creek spit.
Moved by Director Rainbow, and I will second that. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Item 7.3 is a request for a decision on the Marmot land use contract discharge bylaw number 1687-2020. And I see Kim coming on to the call to speak to this one.
Anna is also in the process of joining us.
So we'll just wait for a minute then, unless Kim Needham would like to start the discussion.
Sorry, are you speaking to me?
I'm guessing
what
that
application are we dealing with? I wasn't, I just joined the meeting now.
I know you did, and I see Anna's here as well. We're looking at the request for decision on the Marmot land use contract discharge bylaw.
7.3.
Yeah, so did you have a question about that report?
I'll move that. Get it rolling.
Director Demare?
Got one question, Kim. Just curious how the replies went when you sent it out to the property owners. Were there lots of replies?
I'm going to turn that to Anna.
Okay.
Maybe she's not there yet. She was handling all of the correspondence with the property owners.
Yes, I'm here now.
Okay. Did you hear my question, Anna?
No, I didn't. Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, just wondering how the responses were when the letters were sent out to the property owners on the Marmot land use plan.
So, yeah, we got quite a few calls back. Yeah, we got a few, quite a few calls back, but it was mostly to clarify. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes. We got quite a few calls back. They were mostly to Something is weird is happening right now. I don't think I'm connected properly.
Yeah, you're coming through all right.
What? Okay. Let me try.
Are you asking about public input, Director Demare, because we're being asked to waive the public hearing?
No, I was just wondering on if there were any negative people that didn't want it to happen.
Through the chair, I can speak to that. There were
Okay.
some that chose not to have the land use contract removed at this time, so they will remain with the land use contract until it is discharged by the province.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. And just with respect to the public hearing aspect, these have been the discharge or the removal of the land use contracts and replacement with zoning is discussed in the OCPs. So these are consistent with the OCP. Therefore, no public hearing is required.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none opposed, the motion is carried. Okay, we're looking at item 7.4, the information report, Ponderosa Estates land use contract. Bylaw number 117, 1977 in McGilvery Fall land use contract, bylaw number 87, 1976, termination and SLRD zoning.
Yeah, Chair,
Yes.
is Kim there?
Yes.
Yes, she is.
Hi.
And so is Claire Dewar, Director Matt.
Okay, could I just ask Kim, obviously the folks at Ponderosa and at McGilvery were fully involved in these discussions?
Yes, and they were also involved previously when we had Ian Cooper working on the area COCP and zoning bylaw. So he actually took a boat and went up and met with everybody. This is a couple of years ago now, but we worked very closely with them to sort of specify the details of the proposed new zoning, which basically mirrors the land use contract, but it takes out all the land use contract language that's not relevant to zoning.
Right, okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that, they're all on board and they were all involved in the process. So thanks for that.
Okay.
So,
Chair, if I might just add, I think the key reason of bringing this forward as an information report was really to highlight our approach for these two specific land use contracts, because it is a slightly different approach that we've used for other land use contracts. And I guess part of that has to do with the current zoning, which will leave these sort of areas in a quite a non-conforming situation, and thus the need for a new zoning or zoning amendment. And then the other aspect that is sort of what we're proposing for these two specific areas is that we will not be discharging the land use contracts. We will be addressing the zoning requirement, which we have as a local government we must do, but we will let the land use contracts terminate in 2024.
thank you. So do we just move to receive this then? Is that the course we want to go?
Are you moving to receive the report?
Yeah, I'm just asking that question. That's what we want to do, is move to receive it? Because if that's the case, I'll move that.
Okey doke. Chair, Director Rainbow,
I'll second that.
all in favor? Opposed? Move to receive, motion carried. Okay. Now, 7.5, request for decision. Rushkinski, Gun Lake Area A DVP application number 151. Any comments? Director Rainbow?
Yeah,
Motion.
I have a question about this. So if this person is allowed to build the, I don't know the person at all, so I'm just looking at it as a sort of academic exercise, if you like. We're putting a covenant on this to say that the extra space cannot be used for overnight accommodation. And so that person signs that covenant, goes ahead and builds the space. What happens if they disregard that covenant and set up a little Airbnb situation in there, figuring they can pay for the building within a couple of years? What recourse do we have?
Through the chair, that would be a bylaw enforcement issue.
But what could we actually do if somebody just said, "Oh, the heck with the SLRD," and there are people in the SLRD that say that, I'm just doing what I want to do because nothing's going to happen. So,
Well, we could seek a legal injunction against them.
what, okay.
And that would stop them from doing it. And if they had a court order and if they continued to do so, they would be in contempt of court.
Would we do that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We've done it before.
Well, good, because I don't think we should do things like
Yeah.
covenants unless we're prepared to go that whole route. So that's the only reason I asked the question.
Yeah.
Director Demare?
I read that the staff was going to give a couple of comments that came to them about this application.
Staff?
Was there any?
Yeah, so we had one call just to clarify some information on the report, and they didn't have anything in opposition to say about this.
Okay, thank you.
Did I understand that you had one call, but not in opposition? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, yes, just to get more information and no other comments.
Director Demare?
Yeah, similar to what Tony said, you know, this building is going to be fairly large with the rooms up above it. So it's imperative that the DVP is that it, you know, the development permit with the option 1 of the covenant is important. I know when I did my carport, I had a tiny little garage portion and I had to sign that covenant also. So I don't know why there wouldn't be with every single garage application. So I'll move this.
Moving the two that's as they are listed under.
Yeah,
5.
option 1.
There's 3 that's.
There's 3. Thank you very much, Kristen Clark.
Yeah.
So
I move option 1.
Oh, you can do all 3, I do believe.
No, I'm going to do option 1 with the covenant.
Sorry, I'm looking at my agenda and you're looking at the report in the.
Yeah, so support the
Okay.
variance on the condition that the owner sign a S219 covenant explicitly stating that the second level accessory building is not to be used solely for storage and not to be used as overnight accommodation.
I'll second that.
In favor, opposed, motion carried. Does that cover off the 3 dots that I'm looking at in the agenda? Okay, thanks. I'm having trouble switching back between the screens here. The next item is 7.6. Request for decision, Northern Development Initiative Trust, 2021 grant writing support.
Vivian?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to recuse myself from this as the grant writer works for the BRVCA in their, and my wife is a director and my daughter does the bookkeeping for the BRVCA.
Kristen, will you be removing Director Demare momentarily?
Yes, thank you.
We'll see you in a minute, Director Demare.
Yep.
Chair.
Yes.
So I will move option 1, which is as preferred as set out in the recommendations presented above.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. That's that. We can invite Director Demare back into the meeting. And I'll wait for that.
And I've just, Director Birch-Jones, I've just brought Claire back in for her item that's next on the agenda. And we can say goodbye to Patty.
Okay. Nice to see you, Patty. Hello, Claire. Now we're looking at 7.7, a request for decision on Electoral Area C Agricultural Advisory Committee Terms of Reference Amendment. Please go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. Is there any desire for sort of a run through of this report or any specific questions?
No, I'm comfortable with it. It's Russell. So having said that, I'll move this.
Moved by Chair Russell. Director Mack, seconded by Director Demare. In favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay. I'm sure I'll learn all about it when you get to Area B. Thank you. Okay, this takes us to 7.8, which is my question about elect funds. The cost center 2900, special general services. I just want to know what the intention of that fund is. I know that some money has been identified for what's called portal identification, and I certainly know what we can use that for. What is the rest for? That is my question. And I will in future happily go directly to staff with these questions. I'm wondering, Kristen Clark, would you like to answer that question?
So your question on page 19 of the agenda in cost center 2900, you're asking for the portal identification funds, what those amounts are for? Is that your question?
No, I totally understand portal identification.
Okay.
What I don't understand is what the rest of the fund is intended to be used for.
The rest of the
Find it. I did some footwork, and I've certainly read the PILT policies and so on, but I just don't understand what the special general services cost center 2900.
Yeah, Suzanne's probably the best person to answer that question. Unfortunately, I'm not sure I am.
That's totally fine, and I'm more than happy to just follow that up with Suzanne. In the past, I was always asked to bring these questions to the CAO, and so I will figure that one out. And Sal, please go ahead, Director Demare.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it, and the revenue is carry interest earned was $621, and the surplus deficit carried forward was 7,800 or 78,000, and transfer from other services from the PILT was 10,000. So I tried to search it on the SLRD website, and I couldn't find anything that explains this cost center 2020. And I presume it's for the electoral areas. And so we got a total of 65,000 balance of funds not spent or committed. What's it for?
That is my question. I see Director Rainbow putting his hand up, but you're also frozen there, Director Rainbow. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, that raised Director Birch-Jones, because I can't answer it. Sal doesn't know. Maybe Russell knows.
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
And I see.
Is Suzanne around?
It's not urgent. I see Melanie Helmer, you had your hand up there, and so did Sal. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I did just want to say that I know those are discretionary funds that you guys tend to use for grant and aid. The carryover that is indicated as a surplus that was brought forward from last year is whatever was not spent last year, and whatever is not yet committed through the various resolutions that have been made would be what remains available for spending. Whatever's been used up gets removed from that, and the commitments get removed from that when Suzanne prepares this report. But sort of the constraints, if you're looking for something along the lines of the gas tax in terms of what you're permitted to use it for and what you're constrained that you can't use it for, like you can't use it to benefit business or those kinds of things, we can get something together for you that will provide some clarity around that and bring that to a future meeting if that would be agreeable to you.
Director Rainbow?
I'm looking at this, I've never really paid, but you know, presumably the rules for this are similar to the rules for our own area allocations. So the question here would be, how do we as a group of 4 rural directors access this? What's required? What's a legitimate expense? They're back in the past, and goodness knows when, because it was certainly before I came on, so it's more than 6 years ago. This portal identification was placed on here. How did that get there? And with $65,000, how do we as a group of 4 people decide on what we might spend that on? Can we just say, well, let's take $15,000 each and transfer it into area A, B, C, and D? And then it just becomes part of the funds. Great to have Suzanne clarify that for us.
And I see.
And once again, that's a very good question. I wish I hadn't. Well, no, I don't wish I hadn't, because I think the report generally can stay where it is. But I think that this.
Just so you know, Chair Rainbow, we're not hearing, at least I'm not hearing all your comments, but Director Demare, you had.
Yeah, in my research, I did see that there was something about 1% from the PILT funds going to this particular General Select 2020. And I know that previous director, Debbie Demare, she used the $10,000 for wayfinding signage. And it was a big project, and she just used it for leverage. I think, I can't remember, it was about $80,000 at the time, the kiosks, the 4 big kiosks that we have coming into the valley. So it somewhere in there, you can even see the allocations there, prior commitments, and portal identification B, that's what they've got left. C has got 10,000 and D has got 10,000. That was never used. And I think portal signage was for signage coming into the electoral areas. And that's why Director Demare spent the whole 10,000, and there is no commitment there. So I think if the staff could come back with a report, what it was intended for and where it comes from and the whole concept of this 2020, that's what we need. So I'd like to make a motion to that the staff look into it and come back with a report at the next EAD meeting.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
All right, moved by Director Demare, seconded by Director Mack. All in favor, opposed, motion carried. And thank you very much for indulging me in that discussion.
No, I think it's been a good result.
Uh, 7.9 is also mine, removed from the consent agenda. And I really, let me think. Essentially, what I'm looking for is the opportunity to discuss with staff if they can be of some assistance to me in the 2 groups that are pursuing the park status in Marble Canyon, as regards liaison with Transport Canada. Squamish is looking into that, and there's also the Pavilion Residents Association that want to have a meeting, possibly by Zoom, possibly in person, depending on what they think is best, with the BC Parks people, Peter Wieland and Craig Bailey. There's a bit of activity. This has been going on since I began. It's a couple of summers now where there's been lots of concerns, for example, about surf wave boats on the lake and people camping and the lack of washrooms and so forth. And there's 2 bureaucracies that need to be involved, being BC Parks and also Transport Canada, and both I have been invited to participate as SLRD Area B, and I would just like to work with one of the SLRD staff and give them a bit of briefing and see if we can be some help. I did set aside some money for a meeting last year, but with COVID interest waned over the winter and then happened. And so it's a bring forward. And I just was looking to work with staff a little bit more and see if we could help the constituents move this process along before next summer. I don't know if I need to make a motion to that effect. Yes, Melanie, help me out. Yep.
Thank you, Chair. Just wondering if it sounds fairly specific to your electoral area, if this would be something we could add to our discussion that we have planned for tomorrow and look at next steps from there.
That would be great. Thank you. Then we're moving to number 8.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Director Birch-Jones, would you like to receive that item?
Yes, then we should receive that item. I'd like to receive that item, seconded by Director Rainbow. Opposed. Thank you. We didn't need to do anything further on the 7.8, right? There's an action coming out of that. And okay, so then we're on 8.1, Britannia Beach Playground. Over to you, Director Rainbow.
Thank you. I can hear everybody perfectly. You having trouble listening to me or hearing me? No? Can you hear me now?
Perfectly now. Yep.
Okay. Well, I don't really have anything to add other than what I put in that report. $100,000 from our Community Works funds. I've talked to Suzanne. She said that's a legitimate project. So there shouldn't be any issue. Well, there isn't any issue there. Just like to point out that we have, even if that is, and even if the other one the other application I've got in for the Whistler Olympic Park, even with those two going out, we'd still have about $800,000 sitting in that gas tax fund. And I'm looking for any kind of a project that fits the criteria, so that shouldn't be sitting in the back. So this, I assume that the process would be approval here with a recommendation to take this to the next board meeting.
Okay, that's moved by Director Rainbow, seconded by Director Demare. In favor? Opposed? Motion carried then.
The actual wording for the motion is at the bottom of my report in blue. So Chris can just pull it off there.
Okay, everything good? Then we are looking at 8.2, Furry Creek Landscaping.
Yeah, I'm going to declare a conflict with this because I'm a resident of Oliver's Landing, and this funding would be a direct benefit to the residents of Oliver's Landing. So I would like to be removed from the meeting while this is discussed.
Okie doke.
Angela does know. Angela knows about it.
Okay, excellent. Well, once we see you disappear, we'll hear from Angela. Angela, go ahead. Thank you.
As you can see on the agenda, there is a request to allocate $5,200 from Area D Select Funds to be paid to the Oliver's Landing Strata Corporation as a one-time grant for landscaping along the seawalk of Oliver's Landing. We have received a plan from Oliver's Landing on what they would like to do in that area, and it is removing some of the large overgrown brush that are overtaking some areas of the seawalk. They will not be replanting those areas, but they will be ensuring that the lands are remediated and flat, and it'll just allow the smaller plants in that area to start overgrowing into those spaces.
I'll move this, Chair.
Seconded by Sal Demare. Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Demare. All in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Angela. And now I do believe, Kristen Clark, we can bring Chair Rainbow back. Or not Chair Rainbow, Director Rainbow in this case. The next item on the agenda is 8.3, Clean BC Organic Infrastructure and Collection Program. This is another one where I'm completely happy to discuss with the CAO Helmer on our conversation tomorrow, because it's really just something that could be followed up with staff, and it pertains to Area B specifically. So if that's all right with Melanie to add it to our agenda tomorrow.
Thank you, Chair. I'm certainly agreeable to that. And if you would like to bring it back here for a future meeting or take further action, we can do that as well.
Thank you. So I'm not sure what to do then. Just there's not even anything to receive. It was just an information piece. So just note that it's deferred.
We can receive your director's report.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move that.
I'll move.
Moved by Chair Mack, seconded by Director Demare, I think. Or Sal, did you have a question? Sorry.
I'll second it, but I just got a comment. That's something I've brought up before when we were doing the compost facility just outside of Pemberton. I looked at this and it just brought back to me about having a portable, like a composting unit at the Area A transfer station. And, I've done my little bit of research in the past, going back a couple of years ago when I was thinking about it. And I think it's still feasible. So, when you brought this forward, it just brought back again to me to think about it again. But I think maybe not this year, but I may bring it forward next year for a composting unit at our transfer station.
Thank you. We have a lot of room to improve in Area B in terms of reducing our waste. So I was pretty excited to see this, but I'm happy to work on it on the side with staff. And the October 1 opening has occurred, but I believe that the closure is somewhere in early January for applications. So yeah, Angela's nodding. I think there's a good opportunity there. And I also thought it could be complemented with some gas tax money because that certainly fits under that criteria. And it would certainly be good in terms of climate action, which is well worth remembering. That's moved and seconded and passed. So now it's correspondence for action. 9.1, request for funding, Gun Lake Ratepayers Association, domain name and website. Director Demare, and I also see CAO Helmer.
Chair, I was just wanting to point out that 8.4 portal signage, that you had a report for that as well.
Oh, no, this is incredibly important. How could I possibly skip over the portal signage in Area B? And Angela's here too. I did provide a very brief report on this. And if you're following, we are going to remove the original Area B signs and refurbish them. So I would like to make a motion around that to allocate up to $2,200 to refurbish the existing Area B portal signs in conjunction with the work we're doing, adding the new signs. I don't think that necessarily needs to be part of the motion, just to move to up to 2,200 to refurbish the existing Area B portal signs.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second it.
Okay, seconded twice by Director Mack was first, I think.
Yeah, I'll just vote in favor.
Then that motion is carried. Thanks very much for not allowing me to forget that. Thanks for your help with all that, Angela. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I think we've lost Director Mack.
Looks like it, actually. He was so excited about the portal signage. Should we just take a break? A 3-minute break and try and phone him, or do we wait for him to phone back in? I don't know if you can text Director Mack.
Can we take 5
I
minutes?
can give him a quick call.
Okay. I'd be happy to take a 5-minute break, actually. So adjourn until 11:45, 5 minutes.
Hi, Russell, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm back. My phone went dead.
We're just we're still live streaming. We're just on a small recess until you came back.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah,
No problem.
I guess our power went out last night for a few hours and our phones didn't, I guess, charge up or whatever. But anyways, I'm back.
Did you guys have a big windstorm there?
No, surprisingly, I don't know what happened because the day before we had a 6-hour power, about a 6-hour power outage. So I don't know what's going on. But anyways, power's on now. That's why you have to have a generator in this country.
Yeah, I put a generator with a transfer switch in my place. We get lots.
Yeah. Okay, where are we at now? Are we on 9.1?
Yes, that will be our next item.
Okay.
So I think we're just waiting for Director Rainbow at this point. Okey doke. Okay, we can come back to order. Item 9.1, request for funding, Gun Lake Ratepayers Association. Director Demare, I saw your hand up. Yeah.
Yes, this is regarding a conflict of interest withdrawal. In a previous meeting, I had stated that I had a conflict of interest due to the fact that the BRVCA grant writer was engaged in non-BRVCA organizations that had requested funding. The reason I gave was that the grant writer worked for the BRVCA and my daughter Kara and my wife Debbie were both engaged in the BRVCA. I seek legal counsel and I'm withdrawing my conflict of interest on this matter. The fact is that the grant writer does work for the benefit of a number of other organizations that are in no way related to the BRVCA. So with that, the gun ratepayers have requested a small amount of money, $336, to support maintaining their domain and website hosting services for a year. The previous SLRD directors have also contributed to this, and I'm going to continue that. So I'll make a motion that that the request be granted.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, opposed, that motion is carried. Thank you. 9.2 is from Area B, a request for funding, Lillauet Tribal Council, Statlium Cultural and Community Center Feasibility Study and Business Plan. I thought that special projects under PILT would be an ideal funding source for this, but that's another question that I can bring forward for the future. In the meantime, I would like to move $15,000 from Electoral Area B select funds to support this feasibility study. So I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Director Mack. And Director Demare, did you have a question?
Yes, I approve of this. I've also been asked for Area A for the same funding, and this year I'm pretty tight on select funds, but I would like staff to look into the use of PILT funds for this also. So I'll be requesting that down the road.
Yes, thank you. Director Rainbow. You need to come off mute, Tony.
Yeah, there I go. Right. I fully support this initiative, even though it's nowhere near my area. I think this is something that the SLRD should be really keen about getting involved in. With regard to Sal's comments about the 15,000 coming out of the PILT funds, I wonder if we could look at that, the general fund that we were talking about earlier, whether this would be a legitimate expense out of there as well. So I'll just throw that out, but I definitely support this.
Yes. Melanie Helmer.
Thank you, Chair. So I did just want to point out that the PILT funds, the way they're set up is we have to use them for services, which means they have to have an established service in order to be able to access those funds. But the general funds that were being looked at earlier were under the select funds, and that is in fact where you're accessing the motion that's on the table at this time from.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments on that? Okay, that's moved and seconded and passed. Thank you.
I did not have you calling the question yet.
Oh. Call the question. So all in favor, opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Does that work? Okay.
That
The next one is a request 9.3 for funding the Mile Zero Riding Club fencing rebuild. I'd like to move $2,000 from Area B select funds towards rebuilding the fencing on the grounds main arena and riding ring.
second.
I'll second that.
Okay. Director Rainbow, I saw your hand first. And Director Demare, did you have a question? You're not on, you're on mute, Sal.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I support it for sure. We had a number of people attend an event there from the Valley, and they came back and were so pleased of being engaged in that organization there, and I definitely fully support it.
All in favor? Or in favor, opposed? Motion carried. 9.3, 9.4, request for funding, Ponderosa Strata Community Urban Interface Wildfire Mitigation Funding. This would be Director Mack.
Yeah, and I'll move this. The only thing I wanted to come out of amenity funds, not select funds.
Okay. So the motion will be that it has to be referred to the board then.
That's right.
Yep. I'll second it.
In favor, any opposed? That's carried. $5,000 from Electoral Area C amenity funds.
Correct.
All righty. 9.5, request for funding Birkin and Darcy Community Fireworks.
And I'll move this, and this will come out of select funds.
And I'll second that. In favor, opposed, motion carried. 9.6, request for funding British Columbia Conservation Foundation. Director Demare?
Yes, this has been brought up before at the SLRD, and at the time, I think it was 2 different times it was deferred. And so when I became director, the LaJoie Lake residents came to me and asked me for support. And I looked at it and we worked through it. And through my conversations with them, I asked them, you know, who's going to be responsible for the student, and we worked through it, and we finally, because I wanted to make sure that the person was covered for safety, for work safe, for you know, who's going to do the payroll and so on and so forth. So we worked with the British Columbia Conservation Foundation, and that's what they do. And so once we got into it deeper, we found that, you know, I said, well, we need to have some quotes on some of this stuff. So their initial application was 14,000, and they had 3,000 for the testing. And once we got the quote, you can see it in that document, what the budget is, that it was quite a bit more than that. So that's why the increase up to what the total cost is. And so I said I would give up to 20,000 out of our select funds for this project, because it's a valuable project. It also, through that master's program for the student, it creates one more highly skilled person for BC, which is very important as we go through our climate change. So I fully support this initiative, and I look forward to. Actually, I've also volunteered my time and in kind cost to transport the student back and forth on one or two of his trips, and also to accommodate him here at our residence here at Gun Lake. So I totally support this program, and I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Kristen Clark, yeah.
Thank you. So Director Demare, this is conditional upon those 4 items in your letter?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
So and again, it's committed cost.
All right. Any opposed? That motion, I believe, was moved by Director Demare, seconded by Director Rainbow.
Sure.
Carried. Uh, 9.7 is a request for funding with Lillauet. And I'd like to move $2,000 from Area B Select Funds towards ice rental costs, wages for the coach and so forth for Lillauet. Seconded Director Rainbow, or is that a question?
I'll second it because I support the grant. I'm just not sure if we can support wages out of select funds. I'm sure there's a way around it. I support the $2,000, but my question is, can we list wages as one of the expenses?
Why not?
Well, the reason I'm asking is because I had the understanding that select funds couldn't be used for ongoing operational costs. You know, like supporting wages and salaries.
Okay, it's a seasonal program, clearly, but I get your question. Perhaps it's better just to say towards the Lillauet operations.
And leave it at that. Yeah.
Lillauet, period.
Yep.
And all right, so just amend that motion a little bit, just to say $2,000 from Area B Select Fund towards Lillauet.
Yeah, and if you check that out with Melanie, what the rules are, you can say to Lillauet, you've got to spend it on ice rental or equipment, and you can't spend it on salaries or something along those lines.
Okay, and I see Melanie nodding, and so yes, they could spend it just on ice time easily.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, so that's moved.
So sorry, is that an amendment because we've seconded the,
No, I didn't actually second it. I had that question before.
Okay.
So if Vivian's going to just
Withdraw what I originally said then. And
simplify the motion, yeah.
Yeah, just make the motion to fund Skate Lillauet $2,000 from Area B Select Funds.
Yeah, and I'll second that.
And then Director Rainbow seconds it. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. And the next one is 9.8, request for funding Lillooet Friendship Center Society. Director Demare.
Yes. We started that program back in April, if you all remember, and it was only supposed to go for 2 months. And at the time, I also did a $2,500 grant made to the Lillooet Friendship Center. And through the generous donations of individuals, it's still going. It's changed a little bit now, and they're bringing out food hampers. And I just can't say enough of the help that the Lillooet Food Bank has been to our community. We're also, the Economic Development Committee here of the BRVCA is also working on affordable housing, rental units, and so on and so forth. And I think that this program has opened up a lot of eyes in our community to the actual needs that we have here. I mean, we've got a lot of recreational properties here, and it doesn't really affect them, but for some of the locals, I think it's really opened a lot of people's eyes up. And I fully support this initiative, and I want to try to get the people that are, the households that are receiving this food hampers and through the Christmas period. So that's why I've requested this funding. And I move it.
Second.
Okay, Director Rainbow seconds. In favor? Opposed? Motion carried. .9 is a request for funding the Lillooet Friendship Center Society Intercity Bus Program. This is the OWL bus. I would like to move $2,000 from Area B Select Funds go towards the OWL bus service out of the Lillooet Friendship Center.
And I'll second that.
Seconded by Director Mack. All in favor?
I have a question.
Okay.
How do they fund that? You know, $2,000 is not going to cover the cost. How is it funded?
They are really nickel and diming this service and trying to beef it up and trying to access other funding. It's definitely a shoestring service right now, but it's quite a vital one for some of the vulnerable people that come to the Friendship Center for various services, and they will need bigger funding in future, and they're looking for that. But this is shoestring support to keep them going in the short term.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone opposed? Okay, that one is carried. Thank you. The next question is, the next item is decision on late business. I don't believe we have any. Nope.
No, Chair, we don't have any lists.
Okay, thank you. Director's notice of motion. Nope. So then, motion to adjourn. And Tony is waving wildly.
I move
His
we adjourn.
favorite part